Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring the naked truth about Japanese hot springs, taking a journey way beyond basic etiquette. We're going to look way past the typical tourist guidebooks. We're going to examine how something as simple as taking a bath actually holds the keys to understanding an entire nation's history, its social contracts, and honestly, its heart.
So, I want you to imagine, just for a second, the incredible vulnerability of stepping into a communal bath, completely naked with total strangers. Why does shedding our clothes reveal so much about a culture? I mean, it can feel incredibly intimidating at first, right? But it's exactly this vulnerability that hooks us into the really unique intimacy of this Japanese ritual. Because when you strip away the fabric, you literally strip away the barriers.
Let's start with the ritual of vulnerability and what it means to shed our social titles. You see, removing your clothes isn't just about washing. It brings us to this absolutely beautiful concept known as naked equality. In these waters, there are no CEOs, no entry-level employees, no wealthy elites, and no struggling students. None of that matters. Once you shed your clothes and your privacy, everyone becomes a complete equal. It's the ultimate equalizer, creating a profoundly unique experience where you're immersing yourself not just in hot water, but deeply into the authentic sensibilities of the Japanese people. And beyond that beautiful philosophy of it all, there's some incredible science at work here too. Japan is a nation sitting right on a volcanic belt, so it's super rich in geothermal heat. Soaking in these waters triggers what experts call the circulating body effect. You've got the buoyancy taking the weight off your joints, the heat expanding your blood vessels, and the water pressure actively promoting circulation. It's literally a scientifically backed full body reset. Moving on, let's see how this builds into the actual physical spaces and talk about where you should go to choose your bath. Now, what's really interesting here is how clearly we can categorize the three completely different types of public baths you can visit. First up, we have the Sento. This is pure life infrastructure, the local neighborhood bathhouse costing around 500 yen where folks bathe daily. Then you have the Super Sento. Think of this like a huge entertainment complex with saunas, manga reading rooms, and restaurants. And finally, the Onsen. These are the natural hot springs where the water legally must emerge from the earth above 25 degrees Celsius and contain specific minerals. Going to an onsen is, quite literally, a dialogue with the earth. Next up, we really need to address the tattoo dilemma and the history of ink in Japan. We have to talk about a very real, historically complex issue that a lot of travelers run into today: the deeply ingrained social aversion to ink. To understand this, we've got to objectively trace its historical evolution. Back in the ancient Jomon period, tattoos were spiritual, right? They were symbols of shamanism and status. But jump forward to the Edo period, and the government actually began using tattoos to brand criminals, which made social reintegration pretty much impossible. Later on, during the Meiji period, the government completely banned tattoos just to appear more modernized to Western powers. And finally, in the post-war Showa era, movies and media really cemented the image of tattoos as an exclusive symbol of the Yakuza, or organized crime. So it's this centuries-long buildup of association. And that leads us straight to the modern struggle. Today, facility operators are dealing with a huge increase in inbound tourism and younger generations who view ink simply as fashion. Their honest opinion? We can't tell the difference. I mean, how do you write a rule that distinguishes between a small fashion tattoo on a tourist and a traditional full-body piece associated with organized crime? Because of this very real dilemma, full liberalization of these rules might still take quite a long time. But what's so fascinating is the historical gap between Japan's wonderfully relaxed past and the rigid rules of modern times. Get this, in the Edo period, a lot of bathhouses featured mixed bathing. Sometimes they'd literally just hang a single string across the water and call it gender separated. No joke. Compare that past generosity to today's strictness, where we see blanket exclusions and rigid walls of rules. It is quite the paradox. So if you do have ink, how do you navigate this today? Well, here are 3 highly actionable survival strategies. Number 1, use mandatory skin-colored stickers. A lot of facilities will happily let you in if you can just cover up small tattoos. Number 2, utilize private outdoor baths, often attached to guest rooms, where you have the space completely to yourself. And number 3, do your research. Look for tattoo-friendly facilities, especially in heavy tourist areas, because they are definitely out there. All right, let's get into the 3 rules of the bath and the etiquette essentials once you're actually inside. So, the crucial point is how to act once you step inside the inner sanctum of the bath. These are your 3 iron rules. First, you absolutely must completely wash your head and body before you step into the bath. Unlike Western tubs where the water is drained after one use, this water is shared by everyone, so you've got to be totally clean before entering. Second, never ever let your towel touch the bath water. And third, tie up long hair and keep it out of the bath. This all comes down to keeping that shared water perfectly pristine for the whole community. Now you might be wondering, what on earth do I do with my towel then? Well, you fold your tiny towel and pop it right on top of your head. It might look a little funny or like a super cute scene out of an anime, but it's actually an adorable bit of traditional wisdom. Placing a cool, damp towel on your head helps prevent you from getting dizzy or lightheaded in the hot water. And right before you leave the wet bathing area to go back to the lockers, you have to perform the one wipe. This is the simple act of wringing out that small towel and lightly wiping your body off to keep the changing room floor completely dry. Why? Because Japan has incredibly high humidity. If everyone drips water onto the wooden floors, it causes mold and damage. It's just a simple, beautiful gesture that creates a perfectly comfortable environment for the next person. Which brings us to our final section, imagination for others, the true heart of the culture. When you really start to connect the dots, you realize that these aren't just rigid barriers or annoying rules. They form a beautiful social contract that binds the community. There's this quote from our source material that I absolutely love. Japanese hot spring etiquette isn't imposed rules, but crystallized consideration for others. Think about it. Every single rule, from washing first to drying off before you step on the wood, is an act of imagination for others. It reframes the whole concept of etiquette and reveals the true warm heart of Japanese culture. Oh, and after you've enjoyed the waters, there is the ultimate post-bath treat. Sippin' on a nostalgic bottle of ice-cold, usually fruit-flavored milk. If you've ever seen the cultural touchstone film Thermae Romae, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's this delightful childhood luxury in Japan to stand there, all cooled and refreshed, quietly drinking cold milk after a nice, hot bath. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. When you eventually shed your clothes, step into that steaming water, and let go of all your worldly titles, what shared humanity will you discover with the stranger sitting right next to you? It's kind of amazing how shedding our privacy can build the most beautiful, equal human connections. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope this leaves you eager to experience this magnificent culture for yourself.